Well, we are back for another Confluence Podcast. My name is Luke Geraty, Matt Squillante. How are you doing, Matt?
Good. I don't know if my haircut is as sharp as yours, but
got my haircut.
I noticed
2 weeks ago.
It looks good.
I got to get a new one, man.
Mine's going 2 weeks too, but
yeah.
it's looking a little rougher than.
I'm a hardcore advocate for getting my haircut every 2 weeks. I don't like the hair on the side, bro.
Apparently not.
It's funny though. I was going through some old video because I grew my hair out for 2 years. I had to win a bet, and I won.
Did you win?
I won the bet.
Right.
I lost by the hair. It was terrible.
When was this?
This is like maybe it was during COVID, so 20 to 2022, I think.
How long was it?
I mean, I got a ponytail, man. It was bad. Man bun. The man bun was mostly to embarrass my kids.
How did the wife deal with it?
She doesn't like me in general, so it was just food for. Just kidding. She's great, but she's pretty much as cool.
She rolled with it.
You wanted. Yeah,
she's pretty cool.
She's nice.
Yeah,
so.
she's a sweetheart.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we haven't recorded an episode for a while. We've been on the rivers and avoiding the heat and things like that. So today we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about where we've been, just kind of give some river report updates.
Yep.
And then we're going to talk about our favorite flies.
Top secret, all of them.
You're going to give away all the goods. I'm going to lie and just say rubber legs.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about what's coming up. So it's right now, we're kind of in the middle of August. Where have you been for the last month or so?
In my apartment, in the air conditioning.
Avoiding guiding.
I was actually on the Yuba yesterday. Started off slow. And
then it tapered off in the afternoon.
No, it started off slow in the morning, and then we had a really nice bite window in the afternoon.
For about 20 minutes, or what? Was it?
No, it was a couple hours.
Cool. Couple hours.
Okay. It fished well.
What are the flows at on the Yuba?
They're still a little bit higher than they would typically be at this time of year, so they're around 2,000.
Okay.
I think in the past we've been closer to 1,000, so maybe half of what we see. And I know the flows are going to be dropping here soon. I saw an email on that recently. There'll probably be about 1,100 shortly.
Okay.
But the flows are still up around 2,000, fished well. There's not a lot of dry fly action right now. We had a pretty heavy hopper infestation last year, so hoppers fished really well. I think those bugs, I know less about grasshoppers and terrestrials and some of the aquatic insects, but I think they work on a cycle.
Okay.
So we may have had a boom last year, and now we're kind of not seeing as many.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but hopefully next year we'll see some more hoppers. There's a little bit of hopper action, but not
like, because I remember last year you were like, we gotta go, it's amazing. And then you never took me. I was really sad the whole time.
I'm learning from Colin.
Yeah. Shots fired.
Sorry, Colin. Sorry, but I've been waiting to go to Fall River for like 4 years now. And
man, he takes me like every weekend, so it's...
Shut up. I don't want to hear this.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe I'll go to Fall River with Mike Wright. Maybe Mike will take pity on me.
Mike, you have somebody who wants to go. For $650 a day, you're able to book that trip very easily. So Yuba fished pretty good. And then,
I was on the Upper Sac recently for a half day. That fished okay. It's August, right? It's probably our slowest month of the year.
I feel like the Upper Sac in the summertime, it's early morning, late evening. That's midday, take a nap.
Probably, yeah. So that fished okay.
Yeah,
It was acceptable. I went up there myself a few days prior and actually had some pretty good fishing. Just doing some more advanced kind of stuff and found some success. But
were you like tight lining and doing dry dropper?
Yeah, I was actually tight lining, and also there's this one spot that I've been trying to figure out. A few years back, I had snorkeled it, and
this is the level of guiding that you get from Matt. He's like, before I go out with you, I snorkel the river too.
And so I found this one spot, and I still, right now, I can't figure out why, but I snorkeled probably 3 to 4 miles of the river. And this one spot, there were probably 50 fish, and within like 20 yards.
Yeah.
Right? It was not a big spot, but I couldn't figure out from looking at the water and the dynamic, like why these fish were there. There must be something I can't see, like a spring or something coming up from the bottom and making it cold.
It could be, you know how there's certain places on the river where people show up in the morning and they deliver food for the cats, and the cats are all there. It might be somebody
one of those,
putting worms or eggs,
so?
and I don't know. It's possible.
Possibly.
They're just waiting for their.
I thought I saw some guys sneaking through the woods as I came in, but in any case, so I know that this spot has a lot of fish in it, but I had also fished it before unsuccessfully.
Okay.
And so I swung some flies through there without an indicator. Really without any split shot, and was able to get one or two. I think I still need to work on that spot to figure out what's going on and why they're there and why they're so leery.
Yeah.
But so that's on me. But it was just interesting. I was finally able to pick up a fish in there. But I know there's 50 of them down there.
There's something there, though.
There's something there that's keeping them there. It might be a spot where they're just holding.
Yeah.
Right, and they're not feeding particularly.
Yeah.
Because it is cold. And they just, this time of year, they're going to move in there and they're just going to be a little lethargic maybe until evening or in the early morning. But I know they're, again, from snorkeling, I know they're down there.
So you were Yuba, Upper Sac. Where else have you been?
I've been on the Trinity a little bit.
Okay.
I had a good float with some guys from TRRP. I learned a lot. They were really interesting. And I think we may or may not have them on the podcast. I know we've spoken to them about that.
We're hoping to do that,
I know Andrew's working on that a little bit too. So, but in any case, and I was actually out there with you. We had a nice day. You shared a new float with me, which I really appreciated. That was great. He has a generous side. May not come through here, but
I'm always willing to share floats when you do the rowing. I'm like, I would love to take you on this float. That sounds great.
I would like to let you row all day.
Yeah, so I did offer to row.
I know you always do.
The last 30 minutes of the float.
Can I take another shot at Colin?
Go for it.
Unlike somebody who always has a bad, unlike somebody who always has a bad back.
Colin, you've been great to me. So,
that's not what he says on the water.
Like, just call it even, bro. So we had a good float. Have you been on the Sac at all?
A little bit. I was out there with Matt Dover and Kevin Kay, and the day was decent. You know, it was a decent day. That was a while ago, maybe a month ago. And then I've been out there a little bit with you, again with Matt Dover. Folks may have seen we did a brief update on that.
You did a report.
I think you've been out there more than I have.
Yeah, I banged. Opening day was August 1st, so
you banged.
We were
railed.
banging rocks. Actually, the best part about the Sac right now is there are no rocks.
Yeah,
the water's so high. If you're looking for a place to float and learn how to do it, now's the time. So, yeah, I think I did 4 or 5 days since the opener, and so I've been like you. I've been on the lower Sac, and it's been it's been fishing pretty decent.
Pretty well.
I think 4 of those 5 days were pretty good. Caught fish on wide variety of different flies. Eggs. There were surprisingly a lot of salmon in the river.
There were. That was really kind of encouraging.
Yeah. When we saw a lot of them. Mixing it up. Yeah. So, we were having this debate the other day. Andrew and I were talking about this. Are those spring run, summer run, winter run? Because everybody says they're winter run, but anyway, it's August. So,
what was Andrew's opinion?
I think we were still not sure. Everybody's calling them winter run, but I was like, I don't know. It seems like August. Some of these fish are still spawning for sure. So they might be spring, summer. Who knows?
Well, my thought on that is
we should interview them, get them on the pod.
Always a smart ass to come back.
Sorry. Forgive me.
But those fish, I think, were exhibiting that staging behavior where they're jumping, which suggests that they'd be newer fish.
Yeah, I mean, they were definitely in the spawning. We saw some fish that were definitely on their last leg, and they were.
Oh, you think so?
Oh, I saw plenty.
I didn't see any of those.
Yeah, the 3 days I did after you, there were definitely some that were kind of doing the upside down float.
Oh, really?
Then,
Not having their best.
Yeah,
day.
it was a little bit of both. But yeah, I mean, so the Sac fished, like I said, most days it's been fishing pretty decent. There's definitely the bite windows. It's still. With this big heat wave we just got into, now it's 109, and whatnot. That's been tough. Although on the river, the consolation prize is that it's more like 99. Yeah, so that fish good. The Trinity's been pretty consistent. I mean, it's not steelheading. There are some steelhead around for sure, but it's mostly a lot of small trout. But it's super fun. Yeah, so I just got.
You got a
back.
nice brown.
I did with you. I got a nice brown.
Beautiful fish.
Yeah, we were both kind of like, what? So that was.
It was a butterball.
It was a fatty. But I actually just spent. So I went up to the Klamath Basin with Andrew on Thursday and Friday, and got to fish with Dylan Woodrum, and who I will say the best time of the year, typically up there on the Williamson and the Wood. In Agency Lake is generally like August and September, and he does have a couple weekends available right now. And I mean that fishing is so different. It's a lot of swinging, a lot of swinging flies,
like wet flies or actual spay.
No. It's all single hand, like intermediate lines. I would say mostly swinging small damsels and things like that.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean the Williamson. A lot of people know about the Williamson because the fish are huge.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I ever fished it. I think I caught like a 23 or 24 inch fish. And,
so it was about 18.
No, it's probably 30, but I generally go under. But
right.
But it was funny because the guy was like, "Oh yeah, it's just like it was like not at all impressive, And I was like, "Dude, it's a great fish, And he was like, "You want a photo?" And I was like, "Yes," And then I think 2 years ago when I went with Dylan, the first fish I got was like a 26 inch, not just long, but
fatty.
Dude, it was like a 10-pound fish.
It's a super healthy system.
They're lake fish that come into these rivers to escape the heat.
Yeah.
So I've been fishing with Dylan every year. I get a couple days where we do a bunch of video and get to hang out. And Dylan is one of the nicest guys out there. Really, been guiding for a very long time on that fishery. The Wood is an amazing river, very different. It's a small, like you're in the middle of this like grassy field, or grass is kind of all around you, and it's just this little meandering stream.
So it's like a meadow?
It's meadows. It's really
great.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's great, and there's some brown trout in there, and so so the swinging flies over there is really cool. The tug is the drug thing. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
When those grabs happen, it's
they're pretty
cool.
electric.
Yeah, it's just kind of like don't trout set, don't trout set, don't trout set, strip set. I just keep telling myself over and over and over again that I still.
Were you 5 weights, 6 weights?
I think 5 and 6s. Yeah, mostly 5, I'd say, and then 6 weights at times too. It just kind of depend on where we're at and what
any dry action.
We threw some dry droppers, some big chubbies a little bit against the bank, and so it's pretty cool. But that was great. I mean, it was a nice. It was interesting. It was probably in the 70s and 80s, and I was freezing cold.
Yeah, it's definitely been very hot here.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny though, because
refreshing.
If it was anywhere else, if I wasn't living in Red Bluff in Redding area, I'd be like, man, it's I don't need a sweater.
Perfect.
Yeah, but I was like, where's my vest at? So yeah, so I would say the fishing has been picking up, and it's going to be getting better. And so let's talk a little bit about our favorite flies, and then we'll kind of wrap up with what we are thinking people should definitely be having on the calendar, because there's some of our best fishing in Northern California is coming up in the next couple of months, and we definitely want to talk about that. So favorite flies, man, let us know. What are your favorite flies? Let the cat out the bag.
All right, well, I'll start in with a little
hare's ear, pheasant tail. Okay, sorry.
Always.
Tell them your favorite flies.
And that voice, I don't know, the voice comes out.
That's the Matt voice.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I don't sound anything like that, but
okay. Just kidding.
Here we go again.
Sorry, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with a little story. When I first moved to Chico, I was working at a fly shop, and we were fortunate enough to have an older angler who's actually in the Fly Fishing Hall of Fame. He spent his life fly fishing around the country and helping a lot of the line companies actually develop some of the newer lines that are out there today. Really interesting guy, extremely experienced, very, very knowledgeable. I think he's probably in his 80s now. And I politely, hesitantly asked him one day if I could look at his fly box because I was just really curious what was in there. And he was kind enough, he brought it in, let me look at it, and Colin can vouch for this because he was there. 99% of his flies looked just like a hare's ear. They were variations, really minor variations of a hare's ear. He's like, oh, this one's a calabatus, this one's this. But
this one's black,
yeah,
this one's tan, this one's brown.
They were all pretty much tan.
Yeah, interesting.
And I just found that really, really interesting because I have fished a hare's ear a lot in my life, all over the place. All the way down to size like 20s for midges.
Back in the 60s when you started, that's pretty much the only fly they had, right?
Now he's picking up.
Sorry.
I actually did turn 52 yesterday. So
okay. Your birthday was yesterday?
It was.
Happy birthday.
See how close we are? No idea.
I didn't even know.
No idea.
Are we friends on Facebook? I feel like maybe
apparently not. Yeah. I don't know.
That's the only way I know when people's birthdays are. I'm like, oh, man.
I am a little dyslexic, so I could be 25 too, but I'm
possible.
It's possible.
So all of his flies were hare's ears, though, for the most part.
Like literally, if you looked at them, you'd be like, every single fly in your box is a hare's ear.
Yeah.
And I think
this one has 3 tails. This one has...
literally.
Okay.
He's like, oh, well, this one, is with a wood duck tail. Oh, that one is with, dyed pheasant tail.
Wow.
Right? To that level of, like, minute, what I saw as minute differences. Right? One of the things that makes the hare's ear so effective is it looks like so many different things, right? In a really small size 18 or 20, it looks like a scud, right? In a size 12 or 10, it can look like a stonefly, right? In a size 14 to 16, it can look like a caddis, larva or pupa. So it's just an all-around really good fly. I think it gets overlooked because it is an older fly. It is sort of ubiquitous, but it really has earned its place in my box. It's never out of my box. I do generally I'm going to use one that's a little bit outside the standard. I like a guide's choice.
Okay. Guide's choice.
It's got a little bit more of a collar, a hackle collar, and I'll usually put a little bit of flash on it. But I also like that red thread collar, and it's just a successful fly that fishes. Right? It's not top secret. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what are flies that are really effective for you. I had a friend who's working with some vets, and he's doing some tying with them, and they were coming up to the upper sack, and said, hey, what are some patterns that you recommend? And I went through my notes for the last 10 years, and that fly kept popping up every single month. It was in my notes as a fly that produced. So it's in my box, and I fish it a lot. I fish it in different sizes.
So one of your top flies, hare's ear.
Yeah, again, not top secret, but it's because it produces.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, mine? Man, that's off the top of the dome, I would go with currently. Yeah, I mean, because I was even thinking about that question when you were proposing it. It's like, it kind of, for me, this is, it kind of depends on the river.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know you would say the same. So it depends on the river. So if I'm on, if I'm on the Sac, I'd say probably I would go with it'd be a tie between caddis patterns and mayflies, right? So for me, I think bird's nest is hard to pass up, or a UV Sally on the caddis side, or a pupa. I mean, yeah, actually, I'd probably pick pupa.
Which
bird's nest?
Which pupa?
Oh, foxes by far. Yeah,
over Sylvies.
I would say, I would. I mean, I fish black Sylvies, during the Mother's Day caddis hatch, but I feel like pupa is just such a universal all year long pattern. I like the bird's nest a lot, though, the jig version. I like that with a little bit of purple, in it. And then, And then the bubbleback's hard to beat throughout the year too. But then in mayflies, I mean, gosh, all the Paragon, the Weiss type of flies. Those are probably my go-to. Like if I had to pick, like one or two patterns, those are. And then obviously, circle caddis or a spherical Baetis would always be in the mix. I like eggs.
Of course, we could. I don't think we can get through an episode on. No. And we could be talking about reels.
Yep, I'd be like, hey, have you ever tried a bead?
And Luke's going to bring up beads.
And it's because like a part of it is like obviously it's joking around all the time, but part of it is like. I'm sorry, but like I just find these guys who are like, "Oh no, it's not a fly," while they're using all these synthetic. I just am like, "Come on, man, it's just funny." Like, "Oh really? Okay," but yeah, I get it. Like some people don't like, that. I just think that the arguments fall apart pretty quickly if you actually start thinking about it.
As fly fishing has evolved,
and here it comes. I'm just kidding.
he's always busted.
Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
All right. A lot of new materials have come in, right, into fly patterns. And the vast majority of them, because new animals aren't being created, right, are synthetic.
Yeah.
I'm working right now on some worm patterns that I'm heavily borrowing from spin fishing.
Yeah. Ooh, I can't wait to see these patterns on the Trinity.
I'll show them to you. But, I do find it interesting. I've literally had people tell me, get that San Juan worm off my line.
Yeah.
I'm not fishing that, right? And
that's interesting because most of my clients are like, can I have 3 of those?
Right? So even though, I'd been out there day after day after day for the past, 2 weeks, and that was the fly that was the fish were on, these guys literally told me, get the worm off my line.
I think that kind of gets to just, probably philosophy a little bit. It's like, I think it's cool if somebody doesn't prefer to fish with certain things. That's totally I can respect that. It's totally fine. I just wish that would be like returned. Like, hey, for the people that do, it's like, hey, it's cool. Like,
right?
Because it's just human nature. I feel like where we just have to be hating on. We have to find some way to look down upon other angling techniques or flies or whatever. It's like, because I think you have a lot of different types of fishing mentality, right? Some people are like, I want to catch as many as possible, and whatever fly will get me there, me there. Then there's other people who are like, hey, I would prefer not to use this method or this technique or this type of fly. I would rather get them here. Because there's some clients who like, I've fished with some people who it's kind of crazy in some ways. It's like, I would prefer to use a dry fly in January on the Trinity.
Right.
And it's like, and so sometimes that's totally a doable thing, right? There's a fair amount of blooming olive hatches where we can actually, hey, we're going to get a few hours of good dry fly fishing for steelhead, adult steelhead, for sure thing. Last year, not really an option because the flows were so high and there just wasn't those flats anymore and there weren't as many hatches, as we typically have had when the flows are not as high. So I don't know. I kind of think that comes into your fly selection too, right? I'm kind of curious though about the rubber legs for you. So when I first moved here, I think probably for the first 5 to 6 years of guiding and fishing here, I don't think I ever fished without a rubber legs. Mm-hmm. But now I'm pretty selective on the lower sack. On the Trinity, I almost always have one on. But on the lower sack, I'm pretty selective depending on what float I'm doing and maybe the time of the year too. Mm-hmm. Do you almost always have one on?
It definitely depends where I'm fishing. That's an interesting pattern for me because I do tie and I really enjoy it. So I like coming up with my own patterns. So for a long time in California, I resisted fishing rubber legs. And over time, what I've found is that, again, like it or not, there's just patterns like the hare's ear, they work.
Yeah.
If you don't want to accept that, that's fine, right? Like, again, our favorite flies are not necessarily top secret. Yeah. They're just flies that work, right? We like them. They're our top flies because they work. They catch fish.
It's like for me, I absolutely hate the Weiss.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I hate it, but I use it every time I'm out there for the most part. And it's not because I don't like the tire. He's an incredible tire. He's made some of the greatest like tight lining, flies out there, but I hate that I have to use that fly sometimes. Like the other day, man, I swear I could not get a fish. We caught like 20 fish, and every fish was on that fly.
You're like, please take some, just
like,
humor me.
Please, give me some hope.
You're not alone, though.
Yeah.
I really have always liked and respected Kelly Gallup's philosophy and approach to fishing. Mm-hmm. He's just very pragmatic, very knowledgeable, and he absolutely does not like Perdigons. Mm-hmm. He calls them like these flies that have no personality and no. But even he admits, he's like,
but it works.
But they catch a lot of fish.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
But he doesn't like fishing them.
Yeah.
And that's sort of quirks, right?
I feel like
that
for him,
people have.
if it's not a streamer, he pretty much just doesn't like it.
That's not true. He's known for his streamer fishing.
He's a dry fly guy too, though, at times.
Yeah. But just in general, he's a really knowledgeable guy. But
for sure.
Again,
but
it just
I
comes
do
in.
think
it comes into that.
You see his flies, and they're like this long, and they're rabbit fur. It's like okay, makes sense.
But yeah, everybody seems to they have a line. Right, and if you cross that line, then all of a sudden the fly is no good.
Yeah.
One of the things
I don't know what is my line. I gotta figure. That's a good question.
If it's not oval,
I'm like if it's not circle, I don't. What would be the point?
One of the things more recently that I've become interested in is because, again, these flies that we're talking about, they're not mind shattering. Like everybody's gonna have heard of a hare's-ear. Everybody's gonna be familiar with the rubber legs. And so I am a firm believer in that fish learn. We know that. That's a scientific fact that repeated stimuli, they learn. They start to recognize things. That's why a pattern will work and work and work, and then all of a sudden you can't catch a fish on it, right?
That's the evolutionary biology at work.
Well, whatever you want to call it. It's learned behavior, right?
It does seem like every year there's a new PMD pattern.
Right.
That it's like, and so it's like, the jigster one year, and then the jiggy, and then there's just been a whole or the jig nation. I mean, and it's like those flies will still catch fish, for sure. And I think Colin and I were talking about this, where I think 2 years ago I started rotating back. I was like, what was the 5-year fly? And so I brought it back, and it's like, I'd get fish on that. I mean the peaches and cream, but you're right. I feel like there are certain patterns that are just kind of timeless in some ways because they're probably such a good representation of what is natural out there too. So, I mean, there was remember that stupid fly, fire starter?
Yeah.
So there was a period of time on the Sac where I would run 3 of those because it was
red hot.
Just, I mean, and I mean, I remember doing trips where Kevin and I were just laughing because we're like,
what did you get it on? Fire starter?
Obviously. But it was also, too, what does this bright orange thing imitate? And when you get underwater, there were a lot of, it was a PMD.
Yeah.
I don't know. When it's looking in my hand and it's bright orange and it's just floss wrapped with some epoxy on it.
It looked like food and they hadn't seen it before.
I could understand how one would say it doesn't have a soul. I could understand that. So anyway, it's interesting because now, like I'll break that out every once in a while if it's a tough day, and it will get fish sometimes because I think it's just one of those attractor type patterns, So now that's in my attractor box, It's like it goes with all my things that when I call it maybe my desperation box would be another word, where it's like it's been a tough day. They're being really picky and kind of grumpy. That fly I'll break out.
So one of the things that I've done more recently because of that, right? Because of my belief that they start seeing the same flies all the time, and they get familiar with them. They have a bad experience. They get hooked once or twice. We also know that there's fish that are more prone to trying things, right? Just like people that are early adopters. Yeah. There are fish that actually, I don't want to call it personality, but they have a higher tolerance for risk, right? And so
they don't have hands, so they use their mouth. I mean, that is the thing. It's
really?
Like, hey,
So they're more exploratory.
This is what the scientists say.
That's what the scientists say, and you're totally into that. Yep. I get all my information from you, actually.
I scuba dive a lot to research.
I heard that. But so one of the things I've done recently is I've gone back into the past a little bit and looked at some of the old patterns. And this one may be one that a lot of people haven't heard of. It's an East Coast pattern called the Teleco, and it's an older nymph. And I started fishing it this year, Again, I modernized it just a little bit, but it produced. And so I've been going back and looking at some of those older patterns. One of the things I recognized a couple years ago, if you look at some of the older patterns, especially some of these East Coast patterns, a lot of them will have like a bright orange or a bright yellow tag.
Some type of a hot spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, newer, getting interested in the sport, I saw those flies and it didn't resonate, right? I was like, what is that? What's going on there? Like, that looks so unnatural. And then I started actually looking at nymphs, particularly like Baetis nymphs, blue-winged olive nymphs, but also some others like PMD nymphs. And if you squint your eyes and you look at a nymph, it's actually got bands of, it'll be a light band and then dark band and then a light band. And I realized those tires had actually closely looked at those insects. And what that hot spot was representing was especially that last band toward the tail end of the fly. There's almost always one, if you look at a Baetis, it's got a light band back there. And that's what those hot spots
are imitating. Yeah, because I remember you had pointed that out to me because I was telling you how there was a certain fly where a lot of, like, some tires would tie it where the hot spot band was up front.
Right.
And I was telling you, I was like, I had determined, and I'd fished a lot of those, but the one that worked the best was the one with the band at the right before the tail. It was at the back end. I was like, man, I'd run like, run both of them because they were both kind of in that realm. But it was 100% of the time they would never eat the one with the top near the bead, and they would always eat in the back. And you were like, explain it to me. And I started looking at some of the PMD nymphs, and you can go online and Google image search. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. It actually is the back, So it made sense. I mean, it was the fish were like being tricked by the actual accurate imitation versus, the other more popular versions.
Yeah, it looked, again, initially when I saw them when I was younger and I didn't understand these tires, it looked really unnatural. This bright
100%.
Right, and then you think like, oh, it gets underwater, and it doesn't have to be an exact. It's that a lot of times contrast is what the fish are looking for, and so I realized they had noticed that contrast, and they were like, oh, I'm just going to put this here. Yeah. It doesn't have to be exact. It's enough to make them notice it.
Yeah, which I think the interesting thing, because the flies we're talking about, these were Paratagon styles. I think you remember that. And it goes to show that Paratagon, a lot of those tight line Euro nymph flies are being tied by people who are actually trying to imitate. It's not just a tractor, right? Because that's a lot of those flies oftentimes can be attractor flies, but a lot of them are like, no, they're actually. I mean, there's a reason why the hot spot is such a good fly to use. Even though it's got this orange band, it's got a silver bead.
Right.
It is very closely imitating certain things that are in the water for sure, because there's certain days where that becomes my Weiss.
Well,
I'm not putting a Weiss on, I'm putting the hot spot on.
That's a really good point, and it comes back to this individual that I told you about, who had all the hare's ears in his box. He had also done a lot of snorkeling, and I remember him. I was talking to him, asking him questions, and one of the things he just sort of offhand mentioned to me about when I was tying pheasant tail was he said, make sure you keep the legs really short. And I was like, I had a lot of my patterns, I had actually made them longer because I felt like it gave them more movement. And he said, no, because when the nymph is swimming, they don't swim with their legs out. They actually tuck their legs in. So their legs don't stick out very much. So if you think about it, these Paratagon nymphs that have no soul, right? They don't have legs.
Yeah.
That's actually a much closer imitation to what that nymph is going to look like, because he's got his legs tucked in almost under his body. And you can find some photographs of them underwater. Yeah. And you look at it, and sure enough, the legs are not splayed out like we often tie our flies. They're tucked in under the body, so they almost don't stick out at all. They're almost not there, right? Because if you think about it, too, you're going to be a lot less, if you're like this, right, and you've got 6 little appendages, you're a lot less hydrodynamic than if you're like this.
That makes sense,
so they actually tuck them in when they swim, and so, again, I thought that was a really interesting point. Another fly that everybody's going to be familiar with, okay, but has a variant that I've fished a lot in the past with a lot of success. And I simply fished it because it was close, but it was a variant. Again, just slightly different enough, I felt, that they hadn't maybe seen this as much. And everybody's familiar with the Prince nymph, right? They're probably less familiar with the zug bug, okay? And I fished a lot of zug bug in place of a Prince, and had a lot of success with it. It's got that same peacock herl body and biot tail, or you can tie it with peacock tail, which is the original. It's got either a feather, or sometimes you'll see it with like a little bit of white antron up near the head. And so it has that peacock herl sort of attractiveness that fish like, but just slightly different look. It doesn't have the horns on the head. And again, it's usually tied with a peacock sword tail, right? So it doesn't have that biot look to it as much. And I would fish that frequently in place of a Prince with a lot of success. So that's another one from the past that I found success with.
Interesting. So really what I'm getting out of this is that there's no way that we could actually say, Oliver, there's so many flies. Because I was just thinking about, and I love the amber-winged Prince on the sack. That's a great fly. So
that is a good fly.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's kind of a way to wrap up this part of our conversation, is that it does really depend on the river. It does depend on the time of the year. It also probably changes, but there are some like go-to flies that probably every guide and every angler has, because they're always like, oh, this has been, I've been successful with this. Because it's funny how we fished with somebody recently where there's a certain fly that they use like all the time.
Yep.
And like I've used it, it works at times, but I'm not like super confident in it on a regular basis, and they catch a lot of fish on it. So
they caught a lot of fish.
Yeah. So it's part of its confidence, like how long, because I'll put certain flies on and I'm like, you get 30 minutes.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm like, you get 30 minutes. You don't get it done, you're out of there, buddy. So all right, well let's talk about what's coming up. We're mid-August right now. We have got September, October, November, and December right around the year. I think you and I both would say this is our favorite time of the year.
Yeah, that's where the big smile comes from, because we're coming into that time of year that things heat down temperature-wise and heat up fish-wise.
We need vests. My favorite is when I can just wear one vest, and I can still rock the sandals until about the end of October.
And then you start complaining about being cold, and your hands cold.
Yeah, I'm like,
Mr. Alaska over here.
I've acclimated, bro.
Crying like I'm going to get my heated socks and my heated gloves. And
electric's the answer. It's funny.
My union suit.
Last year in Alaska, it was like July, and I'm like, I am freezing cold, It's funny. Let's think about.
You got to let the hair grow out again too. That's going to help keep your head warm.
Can't do it. I'm going business, man. Okay, so we have egg bite right around the corner, and egg bite. I generally tell people because they're like, when should I book? I'm like, hey, salmon don't necessarily.
You generally
want a calendar.
tell people that they should only fish the egg bite.
I tell them you should only fish with me
on the egg bite.
You get 31 days. Pick your
That's it.
No, I always tell people salmon don't have a calendar, right? Every year it's different. This year, like some years, it's like the salmon are running a little bit later. The thing about the sack that's interesting is that there are salmon almost throughout the year. There's different, because there's 4 unique, distinct runs, and there's always salmon kind of around, right? But generally, I'd say anywhere from September, 25th, somewhere around there, until about November 15th is kind of like your prime. However, last year I was doing pretty well on eggs until the middle of February. So it kind of depends on what floats you're doing and where you're at on the river. But like October's traditionally like the go-to time on the sack. You also guide on the Yuba and the feather, which you've taken me on Yuba 2 years in a row now. We've done an egg bite day, and it's been phenomenal.
Been fun.
Yeah, it's been really, really good. So what's
and the feather, your favorite river in the world to fish ever.
You
talk about it constantly.
I'm always telling people I guide on the Sac and the Trinity. I will not make that drive. But so for us on the lower Sac, basically end of September, all of October, first couple of weeks of November is kind of a good bet. So you want to book now, though, because we're going to fill our calendars will be full pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
What about the Yuba and the Feather for you?
Sort of the same deal.
Okay.
The Yuba runs a little bit later, actually. It'll run into December.
Yeah.
Where generally it kind of starts slowing down on the Feather in December. You can still pick up fish, but they're starting to move up because it's largely a hatchery-driven run. They're generally starting to move up toward the hatchery, which is not accessible until after the first of the year. So I would say the Feather is kind of October through very early December.
Okay.
Right? It's kind of prime.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean you can't pick up fish on the early end or the tail end.
Would the Yuba be like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that then?
I would say the Yuba starts again like very early October.
Okay.
Right? And it's going to run through December.
Okay, so you have 3 months, essentially.
Yeah.
Actually, that seems about right, because I think we were fishing in December last year.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of salmon around and plenty of trout.
Yeah, and I would say, it can push maybe a little bit into January. Just like you acknowledged, right? Anadromous runs of fish, especially steelhead, are not as predictable as resident population fish.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That are there, they live there, they're not, questionable when they're coming in or when they're moving out. They might move around the river. But especially steelhead, this is what I've gained from talking to some scientists. Salmon are a lot easier to study because they tend to be more predictable and they travel in groups, right? So when they're coming in large groups. Steelhead, actually, because they travel alone, they harder to predict, right? So I think that's why you can see more variance from year to year.
Yeah.
Like, it ran 2 or 3 weeks later this year, or it's
because they're all packing up together. And
yeah. So it's just there's a little bit more variance, but I would say October through December on the Yuba.
Yeah.
October through early December. And again, you can find fish on the front end and the back end of both of those, just like on the Trinity, right? Like some guys will fish, through March for steelhead on a Trinity. Is that prime time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about fall. I guess fall.
Yeah.
Lower Sac, Feather, Yuba, excellent places to be. Also, again, Dylan has September. Has got a couple more weekends that are open. Highly recommend that.
I'm so interested in that fishery.
Oh man,
everything I've heard about it, everything I've seen. I actually have a friend who lives on it. Is like those fish
awesome.
are incredible.
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome.
And then let's talk about the Trinity. So the Trinity is fishable right now.
Yeah.
But the steelhead, I kind of say steelhead is like middle of September is when it starts, getting to the point where it's like, we're actually catching a fair amount of fall fish. October prime, November prime, December prime, and December is when it starts.
You
moving
just love the Trinity.
I know,
period.
It's true. It's the place,
and it's beautiful, right? It's great fishing. So no.
December though, it starts to turn into winter fish. December, January, February, and then I will guide there for the first 2 weeks of March, and then I generally get off. But so you have your fall run, and then you have your winter run fish, and I think in my experience, so this is kind of anecdotal, I feel like there's generally more fish around in the fall. You have a lot of hatchery opportunities too, so people who want to keep a fish, there's generally that opportunity. Winter fish, primarily, you have a lot of wild fish, but they're generally bigger. But it's a little bit tougher. The conditions, as you noted earlier, are a lot colder. Some of us are struggling.
Your guides are likely to freeze.
We are
not your people guide, but your actual rod guides.
Rod guides. People guide too, yeah.
Well, if you're Luke,
if you're me,
you might hear some whining.
You'll see me like this the whole time.
You might hear some whining
cold.
On the boat.
It's cold.
Our tough Alaskan over here is...
I'm Californian, bro. So we have the Trinity, so I guess, you also, I also say Fall River in the falls really, really quite incredible. It's cooler weather. The fishing's really great. The crowds are not as heavy. So that's another really good option for people who want to go do the largest tailwater fishery in California. And also monstrous trout are there. It's clear. It's just a great fishery.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but I haven't talked to Andrew about it. I don't know if you have. What's the story on the Klamath, because that's a steelhead fishery.
Yeah.
I know the last time Andrew checked it out, it's sort of kind of coming into shape.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
And is he having spay camp?
Yeah, so spay camp is 100% booked this year.
Okay.
There are no openings.
When is that?
That's September and October,
okay.
I believe. Maybe the first week in November. I'd have to check the website. But yeah, so we're going to go this year and do some video this year, so
cool.
that'll be good. Yeah, so the Klamath, from all the reports, I've driven by it once.
And I'm sorry, the spay camp is on Klamath, right?
Yeah, it's
okay, cool.
It's down real low, close to the mouth of the river. I mean, it is experientially, it's one of the coolest things one could do.
Nice.
The fishing is, I mean, it's the Klamath. It's like in the folklore of steelhead, it's the Klamath. So that's incredible. The views, scenery is amazing. I mean, those fish are incredible. And the accommodations are about as amazing as you can get for a spay camp type of experience. And the chef is, I wanted to start with the chef, but
I like food, so go for it.
Bro, it is.
It's top notch.
It is. I mean, yeah, you will cry. Yeah, it's one of the coolest things that one could do. I mean, really, if as a fly angler, like the Bahamas are incredible. There's always cool places, but spay camp has to be one of those things. And then what's cool too is that, like for those of us who have been swinging flies for a long time and are pretty comfortable casting. Like, great, you can, you will get the guides will take you and then we'll set you up on these amazing runs and you can, cast step, do your thing. But if you've never done it, I mean, the first time I ever went, there were 5 dudes that showed up. I think they were from Las Vegas, had never touched a spay rod in their lives. And I watched Brian Coleman, one of our spay guides, get out there, showed them, some basic casting techniques. And by the end of the trip, they had all caught fish. So, I mean, like that's pretty cool that you have a place where there were, on that particular trip, there was a guy that had come from Colorado who was a retired vet, and all he does now is swing flies, and he travels all around swinging flies, and very good spay caster. He was very, wind him up, let him go.
Yeah.
And then across the river is there these 5 guys who had never done it before, and I just thought it was just it was a cool thing.
Contrast.
Yeah, the whole experience was just amazing. So we have that, but you can't book anything because it's full. So get on the waiting list because next year we will.
More a case of the Klamath should be coming into shape. I think will be viable.
I think this year is going to be the first. It'll start to be fishable. It's going to get better and better and better. How the clarity question is going to be how clear,
right?
And so it's fishable. That's what I would say is that it's definitely fishable, based off of the reports and then driving past it now. And I think it's going to only get better. Which it's just so exciting, know, that there's now the potential for salmon and steelhead to go all the way up. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So. So we've got some really great fishing. I guess that's what we can wrap up with is that the opportunities for fishing are now really, really good. So, yeah. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the next few months particularly. Things just start getting good, and it's really fun to put clients on fish.
Yeah.
And, especially when you get to chase steelhead, that's always a blast. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I hope everybody out there is looking forward to it. Don't be shy about, if you want to book a trip, reaching out to us. If you're not sure about where to stay or what your options are, we really encourage you to talk to us, and we'll kind of walk you through what your options are. And if you're interested in flexibility because you're not wedded to a specific river, we'll talk to you about that too. If you stay
around.
Yeah, if you stay in Redding, you have these options. If you stay in Chico, you have these options. And that gives you some flexibility. Again, if you're not wedded to one spot, then, if this river's not fishing, but this one is, we can take you there.
Yeah, awesome.